Woo. Hello and welcome back to another Ask Mevo Anything. I'm Joe Capehart. I'm the Senior Technical Specialist here at Mevo, and I have another really great show prepared for you today. As always, make sure you put your questions in the chat, and I'd be more than happy to answer those live. If you are new here, let us know where you're watching from. We would love to know. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. I'm glad you're enjoying the shows. Speaking of shows, we do go live multiple times a week. Let me see if I can go ahead and get this thing on up for you all so you can see it. Perfect. So we typically go live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. For today, we have the Ask Mevo Anything, which is basically get a one-on-one with me to ask me any question you may have. For Wednesday shows, you get Will Kirkpatrick. He is a technical specialist here, and he will be talking about Mevo Multicam, all of the latest and greatest with that. He'll be demoing things and showing you the best ways to deploy that for your production. On Thursdays, you get Mevo Live, which is typically Will and I. We do both Mevo 2.0 and Multicam, and we do a little bit more of an advanced shot where we talk about basically anything Mevo related. So we talked about, deploying different ways, talking about using, things like Streamlabs, Livestream Studio. We use more advanced setups in general, multiple cameras, multiple sets. And then Friday, we have Joseph Pisani. He is a technical specialist here as well, and he goes over audio. So he is a background in audio engineering, so he gets to go over the ins and outs of audio. Now, for this week, we do have a little bit of a shift in our schedule. So for this week specifically, we will be doing the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday show, and we have the pleasure of bringing Joseph on Mevo Live. So it's going to be the first time ever you'll have three of us on the Mevo Live show, and we're dubbing it the Ultra Mega Super Awesome Show. At least that's something, I don't know, I keep seeing that in our chat, so I'm going with that. I think it sounds great. But we get to have Joseph in our show as well as Will. We'll be going over a lot of really cool things on that show. So if you've not watched a Mevo Live, you do not want to miss this one. For today's show, I'm going to be using a single Mevo Start with Streamlabs OBS. This Mevo Start is connected via Ethernet using NDI to Streamlabs. Streamlabs is going to be used specifically only for our on-screen demonstrations. All the other overlays, including the countdown that you see, this lower third that you're seeing, all of that will be done via our Mevo 2.0 app. And I will pull up today's little organized, let me see, is this the right one? Oh, here we go. Perfect. So today we'll be using the PDF function, which is the presentation function, which allows up to 50 slides. We're going to do that in the Mevo 2.0 app, and that's what we're going to use to guide us through today's show. So I'm using this single Mevo Start NDI mode into Streamlabs. All the overlays are being done on my phone. And then we are using a blue baby bottle, which is an XLR microphone, going into a sound mixer, which goes output into the 3.5 TRS input on the back of the Mevo Start. So the Mevo Start is going to be handling all of the audio syncing with video. And yeah, it looks great, doesn't it? All right. So for today's show, we have a lot of really cool things we're going to talk about. So let me go ahead and pull that up. And yep, there we go. Talked about that. We got the Mevo Start, Blue Baby Bottle, Vimeo Producer for overlays in the Mevo 2.0 app, and then Streamlabs OBS for screen demos. And just to give you an idea what that actually looks like, it's a little bit like this. So you'll see a little screen demos here. I can show you exactly what everything looks like, and we can go from there. It'll be pretty cool. All right, so for today's show, we're going to be talking about connectivity, essentially. So let's go ahead and move that on over. We're going to talk about Mevo Hotspot. We're going to talk about wireless Wi-Fi. We're going to talk about, I've seen a few posts on our Facebook group. If you're not part of the Mevo customer group, there was a few posts talking about cell signal, cell service, having some issues maybe out in the field on those remote productions. And we're going to talk about a little bit about what do the bars actually mean? A lot of cell providers and manufacturers have adopted that 5-bar cellular signal indicator on the top right of your phone that you usually don't pay attention to unless a download fails or your video starts buffering. You start looking at that. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that actually means, and we're going to talk a little bit about signal to noise ratio so you can kind of get a better idea of what your upload speeds and what kind of experience you're going to get based on, not necessarily based on those bars, because I want to show you that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting great speeds, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. As we go through today's show, I'm going to be doing it in a little bit of segments. So as we continue through today's show, there will be slides that specifically remind me to stop for questions. So please, if you're watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, whichever it may be, put your questions in the chat. Joseph's grabbing those for me. And then when those question slide pop up, I will be sure to go over any questions that we have saved up here for me to go over. All right, for the first slide, what we've got here, we're going to talk about the Mevo Hotspot, and we're going to talk about how that works. So essentially, the Mevo is connected to your mobile device using the Mevo Hotspot. Now, the Mevo Hotspot does not provide an internet connection. It just provides a network for your Mevo to connect to. Your Mevo provides a network for your phone to connect to. And then your Mevo is going to be using your phone's data, the 4G LTE plan, and that's what it's going to be using to broadcast to your streaming destination. So there's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind when you're using something like this. You have to remember that you're using your mobile device's plan. So you're connecting to a cell phone tower or whatever it may be. And now one thing you have to really think about is how many people may be using that same cell tower. If you go to a baseball tournament, a sports event, a convention center, whatever it may be, and this goes for, pretty much any network, the more people who are connected to it, the less resources that your provider is going to be able to provide you. So the more busy it gets, you might see less than ideal scenarios or in environments where you may just want to record opposed to trying to fight for bandwidth rights on that network. Now we'll talk about a little bit about networks and plans that you may be able to get to improve that. Now, you may be able to go and look at some of these providers. This is from tomsguide.com, current as of 4/17/21. So I'm not sure if these are still completely current. However, AT&T has a few different plans. So a lot of the times these providers will throttle you based on how much data you're using. When you're streaming, you're using quite a bit of data. So once you hit a specific threshold of data usage, they start to throttle your speeds back, and you might run into some issues when streaming. So knowing your plan and knowing when they begin to throttle you is very important to know. Now, when you have one of these providers like AT&T, they've got the Anytime Unlimited Starter, 50 gigs, 100 gigs. Those are the names of the packages, the Unlimited Elite, Unlimited Extra, whatever it may be. Verizon has the 50 gigs. They start throttling you, and that's called the Do More, Play More, Get More. And then T-Mobile's got the 100 gig, which is basically anything less than the Magenta Max plan, which has the unlimited data before you start getting throttled. Now, these are all subject to change, of course. These are not, stuck in concrete. It really, I would contact your provider if you need more accurate or more accurate information based on your provider. Now, they will begin to throttle your speeds, which means your speeds will not stay consistent past those moments. And they may even throttle it before then. It depends on what their terms of service is. So if they notice that a specific a tower is being overloaded, they may start to throttle you prior or before then. So one thing we recommend is checking your upload speeds, but we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between speeds and how to check your phone's, well, one, upload speeds, and then the quality of service you may be getting. And this is a little bit different than what I've done in previous shows, but we're going to talk a little bit about signal to noise ratio. Now, I know this may not mean too much to a lot of people. It just looks like a bunch of really cool squigglies and wonderful graphics. There's graphics from SureCall.com, but this is basically a step-by-step of what this looks like. So, before we get too get into, what all of this means technically and using all the fancy terminology, let's use this as an example, right? So let's say the signal strength, which is those yellow squiggly lines, that is essentially, say, your friend on the other side of the room trying to speak to you. That's the tone or volume that they're trying to speak to you at. And then the noise floor will say that is essentially the environment around you that, the background noise, whether you're at like a convention center or something. So say you're at a convention center, your friend's across the room trying to talk to you. Now that noise floor is pretty low. And then, that first example for scenario one, your friend's speaking at a decent tone. So you're getting a decent internet speed, right? So the decibels of noise that your the signal strength is not really interfering too much. So you can expect a pretty typical speed based on that. Now, the second scenario is like an ideal scenario, right? So your friend's speaking louder, as loud as they can speak, and then the noise floor or the environment around them is extremely quiet. So this is the maximum internet speed you're going to get based on not only the signal that the tower is sending you, but also the noise based on the environment around it. And then you've got that scenario 3, which has basically your friend's now whispering in what is rather a noisy area. It's closer to that noise floor. The environment is just as loud as your friend, which means you're going to get slow to no internet speeds because the signal is not only weak, but the environment around it, the people who were kind of, congesting that network are really affecting your speed. So you may be getting slow to no speed whatsoever. Now, let's say the noise floor moves up. Scenario 4 shows a situation where your friend is basically yelling across the room, which ideally is the best scenario. However, the environment around it has gotten noisy. This is that convention center where everyone's yelling, or, you're at a baseball tournament or something, and everybody's trying to stream these productions at one time. So, you've got your noise floor, everybody's getting real loud. There's a lot of interference, a lot of people trying to congest this network. And once again, although your signal strength is wonderful, so you got that 4 or 5 bars that says you're getting wonderful signal strength. However, so is everyone else on that network. So you're congesting that network, and it's just the speeds are not there anymore, simply because how many people are trying to use it. So when you look at those 4 or 5 bars, your cell phone bars, whatever it may be, you really want to make sure that you're really concentrating more so on your upload speeds. And this is why we tell people all the time to make sure you're doing those upload speed checks, because your environment matters. The amount of people trying to stream around you matters, and how your cell provider basically prioritizes you or throttles your speeds is going to affect your stream. So we did have someone earlier, like I had mentioned, that was at a baseball tournament, and they had full bars, but they couldn't even complete a phone call. They couldn't do anything like that. And that's simply because the service was not there. The signal was, so they were connecting to the tower pretty well, but the service wasn't there and was not available for them to really use. So you really can't take those bars to heart. What I would recommend doing is doing speed tests on a regular basis. Now, this is all changes based on, your provider. Oh, what did I do here? It all changes based on your provider. They use different algorithms to calculate those bars, whether it's signal to noise ratio, whether, they're just showing you the signal, whether they're showing you the speed. What I'm just trying to get across is that you can't take those bars to heart when it comes to, okay, I got 4 bars, I got 5 bars. That means I have the perfect scenario, and that's simply not the truth. Now, one way you can check for these things is to do upload speed tests. Now, this is under the Mevo Hotspot simply because it's extremely important. However, I highly recommend that people do this for all scenarios. I do speed tests. The examples you're seeing here are done on our Ethernet speed here in the office. But I recommend doing it on Wi-Fi. We do it on Ethernet. You basically want to make sure you're checking those upload speeds regardless of the network. But this is one I cannot say enough is most important, is when you're using cellular signals, because once again, you can't take those bars to heart and think that means you have enough speed. So for a 1080p stream, we recommend a minimum of 10 megabytes per second. You really need the 6. That's really like the bottom line, but we recommend 10 because that stuff fluctuates. And the ways you can test this is go to speedtest.net. That's that first image on the bottom left you see there. You'll see the download speed and the upload speed. Now, what you want is that upload speed. The download speed is not going to affect your stream. You're sending data, you're not downloading data. So basically, that upload speed is what you need. And I just want to kind of give you an example. These were 3 different tests that I did across 3 different time frames on the same exact configuration. So if you think, and this is wired, mind you, this is a business network. It's wired via Ethernet. So if you see how much this is fluctuating based on how I'm testing it and when I'm testing it, that goes to show you that if a wired network is going to have fluctuation like this, so will a wireless network, and so will a mobile network via 4G LTE or 5G, whatever it may be. They're all going to fluctuate. So the speedtest.net, you see I've got that 756.3 upload speed. And then right next to that, we've got the fast.com, which is what I personally recommend. It seems to be more of the medium between the three. You can always do all three of them if you want, and make sure that the minimum is met on all of those. But you can see if fast.com's got a 660 megabyte per second upload speed, and then Google on the top right, it's got that 222.6. Now you can see all three of them have different results. So it's extremely important that you test these regularly. These were specifically done within about a 10-minute time frame. So they fluctuated that much, and it's Ethernet. Now, what I do recommend is when you're on a cell phone, I recommend you do it right before each production, because a lot of people, they go to these tournaments, and as you know, as the day goes on, more teams leave, more teams come, whatever it may be. Teams are in and out. So more people are on the network. More people are using those cell phone towers. So it's extremely important to make sure that you're doing those tests regularly right before your stream, because a stream, you may be getting quality bandwidth and quality upload speeds at the beginning of the tournament or at the end of the tournament, but in the middle, you may just be hit or miss, right? So you really want to make sure that you are testing all of those things regardless of where you're at. Like I mentioned, a convention center, anywhere where there's a decent population who may be connecting to the same cell phone towers or cell phone service, you really want to make sure that you're doing those tests prior to each stream, because your quality of service is going to change throughout the day. Oh, I think we're getting close to questions. There we are, questions. All right, looks like we have plenty of questions to go over, so let's go ahead and do that. So Fred the Hippo says, just wondering how many people did it take to create the Mevo multicam? I'm not sure. Quite a bit, actually. I mean, it's not a huge team by any means. Let me see if, I think we actually have a, do we have a team link still on, yeah, About Us, I think. So if you go to mevo.com and scroll to the very bottom, you can see About Us, and you can see both of the teams. It's not specifically divided about multicam Mevo 2.0, but you can see the entire Mevo team there in the pictures. We have had some additions to the team. Not too many. I think maybe like, I'm not sure how many Ukraine's added, but we've had quite a bit of additions to make things a little bit smoother, but we've also lost a few of our wonderful team members. So, but if you want to see the whole team, the whole Mevo team, or most of the Mevo team, as of, I think, 2020, the beginning of 2020, you can see them on mevo.com. Go to the bottom and go to, what's it say? It's About Us, I think. It's under About Us. Yep, perfect. It's a great question. I mean, a lot of people think that we're like this ginormous company with hundreds and thousands of people. We're really just not. Earl says, can I use multiple devices to control my Mevo startup? So this is kind of two-part. It's a great question, Earl, but it is two-part. So you can use multiple devices to control your Mevo start. However, you cannot use multiple devices simultaneously. So if I want to use this phone to connect to the same camera I'm connected to on the iPad, I will not be able to do that at the same time. Now, if I disconnect one and connect another, you can do that pretty instantaneously once one's disconnected. If you try to connect to one that's already connected to another device, it's going to tell you that it's busy and it's already connected to something else. So you can technically use multiple devices, you just can't do it simultaneously, and you don't need any account or anything. Now, if you put a password on it, you can do that. You will need that password to connect it from another device. But otherwise, all you need is the Mevo app, Mevo 2.0 or Mevo Multicam, and make sure that device is not busy, and you should be able to connect to it. Live streaming Jamaica says, greetings from Jamaica. Hello, welcome back. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Oh, there you go. Apologies for being a ghost for a while. Very busy around the island and unable to jump on. Well, it's nice to see you, and I'm hopefully your busyness is because everything going on. I hope your business is doing very well, and I hope you're doing well yourself. It's nice to see you back, and hopefully we'll get to see you a little bit more as time goes on. Daniel says, I'm experiencing issues with Facebook live chats freezing, not auto-updating. If you could provide some more information, I'd be more than happy to help. However, the best way to get support on something like this is go to help.mevo.com. If you're on Facebook, which I believe you are, you can look in the post description. There is a link to open a ticket. Myself, Joseph, or Will would be more than happy to look into this a little bit further for you. Centurion 1000 says, how do I use auto zoom and face recognition features? I have the Mevo 3 Start. I've used it twice. I love the basics. I want to take advantage of the features. So I'm assuming you mean you just have the Mevo Start or you have the Mevo Start 3-pack. I'm not sure. But if you're specifically talking about having just the Mevo Start, let's kind of jump in a little bit what that looks like. So let's go over to the Mevo app over here. Let me get rid of this overlay just for a second so it's not there. Okay, so this image that you're seeing on the bottom right, this is going to be where you're going to see the audio match my lips. If you're watching the iPad, the audio will not match. So just a little warning before people start jumping in on chat saying it's messed up. So I wanted to point that out before we get into it. So basically, when it comes to doing auto zoom face recognition, so all you really have to do is go down to the bottom right and you see that 3 dot, it's the ellipsis. And on the far left, you'll see an eyeball with an A in it. And that stands for, I say auto. Now you'll see camera assistant. Oh, I guess that's probably what it is. A stands for assistant, probably. I'm terrible at this game. Okay, so we've got find faces, live follow, and autopilot. Now, if you want to find faces, you can see that it automatically has this circle on my face, which it's because it's identified me. It identified my face. Now, live follow means if I click on this, it's going to follow me automatically. Now, if you want to go and jump between multiple different shots or something like that, you would need to go back and do autopilot. Now, autopilot is going to jump between multiple different shots. So say I create a shot here. I don't know. Let's create a shot on the plant. Let's create a shot on the fence clip. Let's create a shot on the we'll create a shot on the 3-pack over here. Awesome. So now if we go down to this grid view, it's all the shots that I've declared and then also my face. So you look at the face shot, it's still showing just my face, and autopilot's just doing its thing and it's jumping between my shots. Now, if it's a little bit too fast for your liking, you can always go back in here and adjust it. You can move to the hare or to the turtle, and based on your selection, it'll jump between shots quicker. I recommend a slower change because if you change it too many times, it could be a little bit... all right, let's go back there so you can see the preview. If you do it too high, which is what I have it as right now, it could be a little much for your viewers. They could get a little dizzy, but it will jump between my shots that I have predetermined or preset. And yeah, as you can see, it jumps around pretty quick when you have it maxed out like that. But if you get, a little happy medium down here, and it gets a little bit more tolerable for people. And yeah, it's great. You get this full production quality. Seems like you have a team functioning in a multiple camera shot, but in the reality, it's simply just a single Mevo. Okay, so 3-pack, will face follow work? So when it comes to 3-pack and multicam, I believe those features are not yet available for at least face. You can do live editing, but I don't believe you have camera assistant, but I don't believe face follow is yet released, but it should be coming 100%. Mevo Multicam doesn't have all the features that Mevo 2.0 has just yet. We're implementing a lot of these things in different ways, but it should, any feature that Mevo 2.0 has that Multicam doesn't have will be coming. Now you do have, let me switch back to this shot over here. Now we do have, what is auto director? So we have auto director for multicam, which you can designate specific cameras and say, I want this one to be a priority. I want to switch every once in a while, depending on the duration I have set. I want to show this one or this one more than the others. You can do that with auto director. But as far as face follow goes, unfortunately, I don't believe that's configured just yet, but it will be coming. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Edu says, can I use my Mevo Plus wire directly to an Atom Mini? No, you can't. So Mevo is not at all compatible with Atom Mini because they require HDMI, and the Mevo does not output any kind of signal that is that you can convert to HDMI. However, there are third-party adapters that are going to run you $300 to $400 that you can 100% use. We've not tested them, so they're not supported. We've had mixed results from customers who have tried them. I personally would just recommend using NDI opposed to an Atom Mini. If you want to use like a software switcher, it works with all your major brands like Livestream Studio 6, Streamlabs OBS, vMix, Ecamm. You can use NDI with all of those things and manage it there opposed to using an Atom. Joey says, can the multicam Mevo setup be used to record YouTube shows as well or just for live streaming? I currently produce a YouTube show for guitar players. I pre-record everything and edit later. 100% Joey, that's a great question. So you can 100% record with any Mevo with multicam. You can record to the mobile device, the production. So we're going to talk about a little bit about how the multicam connects later in the show, but you can record to the mobile device controlling the production, or you can record individually to each individual camera. So then you can edit all 3 of those in post if that's something you want to do. Or you can do both. You can record ISO and to your program out device. So it's a great question. You can, it's kind of surprising that, more people don't realize that you can simply record. You do not have to stream. You do not have to have a network, or you don't have to have like a network configured to the internet to use Mevo. Ed says, can you clarify if the camera recording will stop recording if your internet connection is interrupted while streaming? Yes, 100%. If the internet connection is interrupted while streaming, the recording will also fail. It will fail. Hopefully in the future, for the Mevo Start specifically, the Mevo Plus, that's not going to happen. But the Mevo Start, hopefully, since you can have an independent recording and an independent stream, hopefully we can, keep those independent. And for future issues where it disconnects, you can continue to record. At least that's the plan that I'm aware of. Hopefully sooner than later. I know that's something we're hoping to do. No timeline or if it actually ever makes it to production, but I know that's discussions that have been had. Ben Beckner. This is quite a long one. So Ben Beckner says, when streaming with multicam app, we monitor our audio through the app on the iPad through headphones to make necessary adjustments from the soundboard. Audio is sent from our soundboard direct to one of our cameras. The audio we are monitoring is from the iPad to headphones and is garbled. I've tried changing headphones and using another iPad and it still happens. Audio and live stream is fine. Only way I found out to fix this is if we force close the app and start again with no guarantee the situation will not continue. Any thoughts on? Unfortunately, Ben, this is probably best for a ticket. Any kind of advanced support, I mean, even any basic support. I mean, I can try to answer some of these questions, but if you need technical support, I highly recommend just opening a ticket. As much as I love to help people, the live shows, we just don't have enough time in our live shows to really troubleshoot with you. So go to help.mevo.com, use the link in the description, and you can 100% get some support. Joseph's in there. He's the audio guy. Will's in there. He's the multicam guy. I'm sure they can come together and get you a solution sooner rather than later. Sorry, I'm not much help. It's just we really don't have a lot of time to go through troubleshooting on the show. Okay, great. So let's continue on with our show today. Let's go to our next thing. Now we are going to cover local network, Wi-Fi specifically. And let's go to the next slide. Now, this is how this works. So a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to your live stream and you're connecting to local Wi-Fi, the distance between your Mevo and the mobile device is rather irrelevant. A lot of times people are like, I'm using local Wi-Fi, my Mevo's right next to my phone. Why is it not connecting? Or why is it, why is X, Y, and Z happening? The distance between your phone and your Mevo are pretty irrelevant when you're connected to local Wi-Fi or via Ethernet. Now what matters is the distance between your mobile device and your local network or router modem, and the same with your Mevo Start and router and modem. So if you are experiencing issues, I would check to make sure there's no like interference, or it kind of goes back to the noise. Check your decibels if you can do that. If you're not comfortable with checking things like this, I would contact a network administrator and have them review your network for you. But really what matters is the distance between your mobile device and Mevo and the modem and router, not between the two device and the mobile device and Mevo. It matters with your distance between the router. So that's 100% what I would recommend checking. Now, another thing to think about when it comes to this, oh, well, I guess that's all I had for that. That is rather disappointing. So if anybody has any questions about Wi-Fi, now one thing I will recommend is if you are running Wi-Fi, we recommend there is a 100-foot radius between the Mevo and the device you're connecting to. Now, this number is based on clear line of sight. If you start introducing other factors like other noise or frequencies or devices out there with frequencies that may be interfering, or if you're taking consideration walls, concrete walls, steel walls, or any kind of interference that you could put in between there, that number is going to drop. So don't take that 100 feet to heart. Unless you have clear line of sight, then I would say go for it. But I mean, even then, I wouldn't push it, right? So if you are noticing that you're having issues and you're 3 buildings away or something crazy, just take in mind, there's environmental things that come into play. That 100 feet is clear line of sight, nothing in the way. It's like open field, right? Clear line of sight, nothing in between it. All right, so we're already back at another questions. Oh, there we go. My bad. So we already have another question slide, so let's go ahead and go through this. All right, Victor says, what's up? This is Seth from thesetmagazine.com. I just tuned in and I'm not sure if you covered this. Tell me about live streaming in the field. Can I use T-Mobile Hotspot? Have a Note 20 5G to power multiple cameras. Okay, so if you're using a T-Mobile hotspot, if you're talking about using your mobile device's hotspot, I don't recommend it. If you're like not specifically trying to use the hotspot feature like tethering. Now, what I do recommend, and this is what Will does, so if you're not familiar with our multicam show, I recommend tuning in tomorrow for that. Will probably will cover something similar to this. But what we do is we have an Orbi router, and we use that. We connect the phone to it, and then we connect 3 Mevo to it, and then those automatically use your phone's data. You're using the Orbi's router as the network, but for the actual internet speeds is coming from the mobile device. So you can 100% configure something similar to that. And but once again, it goes back to that hotspot. You're using your mobile device's data. I can go back real quick if you weren't here for it, just because I really think it's important. There are a lot of things to consider, and that is things like this. Let me see if we can go back. Wonderful. So let's go back to full screen. So this is what I was talking about earlier when it comes to mobile streaming. Now you have to think into consideration, your bars aren't the only thing that matters. What matters is like network congestion, noise ratio to signal strength, and that's basically going to determine your internet speeds, whether you're getting fast, slow, or any internet at all. The more noise that's in the environment, the worst experience you're going to have. So that's a lot of things to take in consideration. Now, if you're trying to stream on a professional level, you're trying to have, you have consistent viewers and you really don't want to have issues, I would recommend getting a dedicated mobile router or mobile modem that has a data plan of its own. Now, the thing is, those are technically still using you're still using your mobile data, right? So you're still using those mobile towers. However, most likely those are prioritized over phones. So I would contact your mobile provider, I think you said T-Mobile, and see if they have something similar set up, like a mobile router or a mobile modem that you can use. Configure it with an Orbi or a similar router, connect all your devices to that, and then you can go on the road with your 3-camera setup. But yeah, I would get with T-Mobile, see if they prioritize those mobile hotspots over the phones. If so, I would recommend doing that, or else you might run into competing with cell phone users on the tower. Ooh, wonderful questions. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Let's go to this next one. All right, so this next one is local network and using Ethernet, which is what we use most of the time. We try to use it, and the reason we do that is because we get typically quite a bit of viewers. The last thing we want is to have our stream fall out, and Ethernet gives us the best signal that we can possibly get. Now, what's often overlooked when it comes to something like this is people believe that once they connect to Ethernet, that problems are all over. There's nothing else they need to worry about. It's not true. Not true at all. We do speed tests every time we go live. Now, once again, Ethernet, what that eliminates is interference with wireless signals, other frequencies, and other things like that. It basically helps eliminate that noise floor that we're talking about previously. Now, Ethernet eliminates most of that. Now, what the thing is, upload speed's extremely still important. It's still extremely important. So you need to make sure you're doing those speed tests still. If you have bad upload speeds, no matter if you're using Ethernet or Wi-Fi, or if you're using Wi-Fi and you have bad upload speeds, using Ethernet's probably not going to solve that for you. What you need to do is contact your internet service provider and get an upgrade in your internet speeds. Now, Ethernet is going to help with that signal. You're going to have a lot less data packet losses, which is wonderful for your streams, but you still need to make sure you have a sufficient upload speed. Now, one thing you need to look at when you're looking at Ethernet is the Ethernet power adapter. That's something you're going to need for your Mevo Start to connect it via Ethernet. And that's also going to power your Mevo Start if you're using a PoE-enabled router or modem, whatever it may be. Now, the local Wi-Fi network, you can still connect your mobile device via Wi-Fi, and your Mevo can be via Ethernet. Now, you can do those mixed. You can have that mixed between Mevos as well. So you could have 2 Mevos on Wi-Fi, 1 on Ethernet. If you have 2 supplemental cameras and you have your main camera on Ethernet, because if one falls out, you have your other one. If you have questionable things. Now, if you're looking for ultimate stability, then I would go Ethernet with all of them. Now, one bonus that you get when you're using Ethernet is that you get like distances between like up to like 300 feet, I believe, is the distance for a Ethernet cable. So when it comes down to it, you're going to get significantly longer distance using an Ethernet cable, and you're going to get better stability overall. Now, one thing that's super cool about it is that you can actually use your Mevo in webcam mode, wireless webcam mode. Now, I know the name is kind of contradicting the way you're setting it up. It is called wireless webcam mode, but you can 100% use your Mevo Start while it's connected to Ethernet. As long as it's on the same network, that wireless webcam app is still going to find your Mevo even when connected to Ethernet. So that's something I would highly recommend doing if you're trying to run your Mevo long distances for something like Zoom or something like Google Meets, whatever it may be. And you're finding that, you know, USB cables simply aren't long enough because you only get like 16.5 feet out of those before USB is just not an option unless you have like a powered USB option or a booster. It's significantly cheaper to just run Ethernet and a lot more flexible opposed to an Ethernet cable or opposed to a USB cable, excuse me. So that's one thing you can think about. Now, another thing you can also think about is that you can 100% connect your mobile device via Ethernet as well. So we've dealt with lots of different scenarios, and one of them that was pretty popular last year was graduation ceremonies and things like that in college universities, or conference centers with like, you know, pro sports. We've had people reach out for things like that. And they noticed that that environment was so bad that the mobile device could not stay connected to the Mevo. The Mevo continued to stream, but your mobile device disconnected. That was because the environment was so bad, the mobile device could not stay connected. Now, what solved this for them? One thing that you can do is, for example, if you have an Android device that has USB-C or micro USB, you can 100% go on Amazon.com or a similar website, and you can get an adapter to run your mobile device via Ethernet as well. iPhones also have this, and other Apple devices, iPads, you can get their specific Ethernet cable, and you can run all of your devices, not just your Mevo, but you can actually run your controlling device. Let me see here. It's kind of similar to this, I guess. Oh, here we go. Similar, kind of. So if I took this USB-C cable, it's got a USB-A on the back, and I ran this into my phone, I would recommend not doing a daisy chain like this for multiple devices. But you can 100% connect this to my phone and run Ethernet to it, and this would run off the Ethernet, which would eliminate any other kind of Wi-Fi issues that I might have with disconnections. So that's another thing that is commonly overlooked when it comes down to things like that. We back at question? No, Mevo Multicam app. Wonderful. All right, we're going to do this Mevo Multicam app, and we're going to talk about why it is different. So the Mevo Multicam app connects differently than the Mevo 2.0 app. The Mevo Multicam app, the Mevos are not streaming. So typically what happens is your Mevo takes the internet from your modem or router, and it streams directly to the internet from there. So it'll send it from Mevo to modem or router to the internet. With the Mevo Multicam app, all of the Mevos are sending raw feeds out to the Mevo Multicam app. Your mobile device is then processing all of that data and creating and encoding that data based on your selections, based on your audio setting changes, and it's outputting it back to the modem or router where your internet's going to send it out to the World Wide Web. So your destination, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, you know, Twitch, whatever it may be, Twitter, all of those things. So your mobile device is acting as the Mevo typically would in the Mevo 2.0 app. The Mevo usually would take all of your options in the app and would encode it and then send it out to the internet. Well, now your mobile device does that in Multicam. So that's why things are slightly different in the way you connect and the way you have to connect with Multicam opposed to the Mevo 2.0 app. The way that the data is sent is from Multicam to, or the mobile device to the internet opposed to Mevo to the internet. So that is one thing to take into consideration. Once again, you can see in this graphic here that we've got all of the Mevo running wirelessly and the mobile device running wirelessly, which is, you know, an ideal situation. But if I so chose and say one of those Mevo cameras was my main camera, I would probably at least run one of them via Ethernet just to ensure if anything happens, I at least have one camera to continue my production. Or you can run all of them or none of them via Ethernet or Wi-Fi. So you can mix match however you want to do. Now, in this image as well, you see all three Mevo starts. You could, however, exchange those for a Mevo Plus, a Mevo First Gen. You can mix match them, have one of each, have one camera. You don't need 3 cameras. You could really get as creative as you would like to. Ooh, so much data, so much data, so much data. Oh, and we got some common issue stuff. All right, so I'm going to go over the common issues real quick, and then we'll go through questions one more time, and we're going to talk about a few other of our programs before we end out today's stream. So common issues that we have with streaming that we often are seeing is closed ports. So often people go into a network not realizing how it's configured. Maybe you're not the administrator. Maybe it's a little bit more complex, and maybe it's not your home network, which is what I typically recommend users test on, just to confirm everything's good. You might have some closed ports. So in help.mevo.com, we have a full list of ports that you need to open on your modem or router. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can contact your internet service provider. They should be able to access your configuration remotely and do it for you. Now, the second thing that we see is peer-to-peer communication, whether you're in a hotel conference room or, what did I do? Bumping some stuff. Whether you're in a hotel, conference center, lobby, guest network, whatever it may be, you need to check to make sure peer-to-peer communication is allowed. A lot of networks have AP isolation or station isolation, which essentially isolates you and each device on that network from communicating with each other. And this can cause issues. You might be able to see the network because it's using Bluetooth. You might be able to see the device, but you may not be able to communicate. And typically when that happens, you have AP isolation. Now, if you are at a hotel and AP isolation is not the problem, there are things also, whether you're in like a Starbucks or something, you might have a, it's called a, oh no. Oh, I can't remember the name of it right now. It's when you're a captive portal. That's what I'm looking for. So you might have a captive portal, which basically is asking for a username and password, and the Mevo is not compatible with that. So you may be able to connect, but you may not be able to actually log into the network, which is going to allow data transmission. So you may run into issues when using scenarios like that. Now, another one we talked about earlier with the mobile hotspot is upload speeds. Once again, this is not just for the mobile hotspot or Mevo hotspot using cellular data. This is applicable to all 3 functions, whether you're using local Wi-Fi, local Ethernet, or 4G LTE, 5G LTE, whatever it may be. You need to 100% do your speed test before you go live every time you go live. You should make it a habit, regardless if you're comfortable in the environment, whatever may happen. You need to ensure that your network is not having issues before you go live. As you've seen earlier, I had 3 tests that were done within 10 minutes of each other. We got anywhere between 200 and 900 megabytes per second upload. Of course, all 3 of those results would have been perfectly fine for a live stream. However, for those who are, already borderline too low of an upload speed, you may run into some issues. And then last but not least is interference. We talked about the noise levels and signal levels and how that all goes into play. Now that is for all networks, not just those 4G, 5G LTE connections. You have to take in consider signals, interference, network overload, shared networks. You have to take in consideration the environment. A lot of things go into play when you are streaming. There's a lot of things that need to go right. The Mevo makes it as easy as possible, but there are still a lot of checks and balances that you need to make sure that you're doing before you go live to give you the best success rate moving forward. There are a lot of variables, but we try to set you up and make sure that the Mevo can take care of a lot of it. However, upload speed, network configuration, those are things that the Mevo simply can't do for you. So you have to make sure that you are set up and configured properly. Once again, regardless if you're comfortable with the environment, you've done it before at that location, things can change. Modems, routers, they updated, settings get changed. Ports get closed, ports get open, ports get forwarded. A lot of things change. So make sure you test, upload speed test, communication tests, and then that way when it's time to go live, you're ready to go. Awesome. Hopefully all of that information was extremely useful for you. We do have some questions. Julia says, why does my Mevo switch off and go from red light to green light? Oh, hold on. Red light on to green off when live stream through Zoom despite full charge, Wi-Fi strong and off. Okay, hold on. When live stream through Zoom despite full charge, Wi-Fi strong and auto off disabled, regular but intermittent problem. Unfortunately, Julia, it's kind of a very loaded question. I'm not really sure where to start with the troubleshooting. What I would recommend is opening a ticket at help.mevo.com. Once again, I want to help. I really do. Unfortunately, the shows simply aren't to, deep dive things like this. I would love to help, but I can help as soon as the show's over. open up a ticket, help.mevo.com. One of us would be more than happy to walk through that with you. Hopefully we can help diagnose some things. Some things I would definitely check, off the top of my head. Make sure the USB port is providing enough power to keep it powered. You might think it's fully charged, but if the USB port's not providing enough power, it will drain. Other things you can consider is, you also have you said auto off is disabled. However, is power on, power off via USB disabled? Because if it detects that there is a loose cable and power is no longer being provided, it will also disconnect that way as well. So there's a lot of things to go into consideration. Open up a ticket, help.mevo.com. Myself, Will, or Joseph would be more than happy to go over that with you. John says, if one is running 3 Mevo starts and multicam app for streaming, is one still able to record raw video simultaneously off of each camera? 100%, John. So you can stream and record to the production. So your mobile device can record the production quality, the output, and then you can also set up ISO streams for your multicam configuration where each individual Mevo will record based on the settings you have set. So if you're recording to your Mevo, it's going to record to the SD card of that Mevo. If you have audio disabled for that Mevo, there will not be audio on that Mevo. So based on things like that, you're going to have to, edit and post and all of that. So if you have 2 cameras that audio is disabled, but the picture selected, you're still going to get that recording. You just won't get audio. The only camera that will record the audio is the one that you have enabled in the multicam app. But yes, you will get 3 full feeds based on your selections that you made in the app. Sean says, what do you consider the minimum bandwidth for upload speeds for streaming running the multicam app? So it's going to be the same for upload speeds that the Mevo 2.0 has. The multicam basically has absolutely no change. It doesn't affect it at all. The local bandwidth is going to be heavier for multicam, which means connection on the local network. But for the most part, you're not going to need anything significant or crazy to run multicam. Now, for upload speeds, it's going to be the same as Mevo 2.0 because you're simply sending a single feed. You're not sending 3 feeds. You're sending a single feed from your mobile device to the internet. So you just need that 10 megabytes per second for that 1080p. But it really depends, right? So if you look at your output quality for your multicam selection for your stream, it should tell you what the bit rate is. That is the upload speed that you absolutely want. Eminem says, can you put some options to set up bandwidth for upload? I'm unsure. If you could clarify the question, I'd be more than happy to answer it. I'm going to go over a few more things real quick before we end out today's show. So if you can throw some clarification on what you mean by some options for bandwidth for upload, I would 100% be happy to review that. In the meantime, I'm going to go over our referral program. So if you are a Mevo user and you find yourself already referring users to the Mevo product line, you can go to mevo.com/referral for US customers, and you can save 5% for each person you refer, and you can earn 5% for each referral for each purchase made on mevo.com. So you're saving them 5%, you're earning 5% commission for all of the recommendations you are already making, so you may as well make some money on the side, right? And what's really cool about this, and I mention it every time, and I think I mention it every time, so I'm going to continue to do so. What's really cool is that you can get to create a fully custom coupon code. So you get to create this custom coupon code, and you get to hand that out. So you can name it after your organization, you can name it after your company, your YouTube channel, Twitch channel, whatever it may be. And people, feel a little bit more trusting towards that coupon code based on, the customization, opposed to having a coupon, which is Mevo-random numbers or Mevo referral random numbers. It's not auto-generated. It's something you can create custom. And so you can take ownership of the referral program. So people will trust it more. It's going to have better return rates with that custom coupon code. So if you're not yet using it, go to mevo.com/referral. We also have, where is it? Is it under promo? I think it's under the promo, right? 3-pack, there it is. Mevo Start 3-pack. It is back in stock for the US-based store, Mevo.com. It is exclusively on Mevo.com. So you will not be able to find this on Amazon. You won't find it on Best Buy. You won't find it on anywhere else except Mevo.com. So if you're trying to get your hands on a Mevo 3-pack, these are going fast. So if you're thinking about it, I wouldn't hesitate too much longer. I would take advantage of it sooner rather than later and get yourself set up with that multicam. Now, One thing to note, the 3-pack is basically built around the multicam app in mind. However, you don't need to use the multicam app. You can 100% use it. I totally love the multicam app. However, you can also use things like Streamlabs OBS. All of the Mevo that come in the 3-pack are identical to the Mevo that come individually. When we sell them single in a single package, they're the same cameras that come in the 3-pack. So they come with all of those same functionalities. They come with all of the same options. So you can use NDI, you can use webcam mode. You know, if you don't need all 3, but your family could use 3 webcams, there you go. Take advantage of that. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. If you only need 2, maybe you can gift another one. You know, they all come with individual packaging, so you can go ahead and take advantage and get that 3-pack and get that savings. It's basically a buy 2, get 1 half off, which is pretty solid. But that 3-pack can be used in many ways. It doesn't have to be with multicam, although I recommend using it because it's super solid. But you can use NDI with all of these different things, and also use webcam mode with Google, Skype, and all of these different things. I'm updating the compatibility list here, hopefully today or tomorrow. I've been working on it all week, which it's only Tuesday, so I guess it's not that long. But Joseph went through and did all the testing on webcam mode, so I'm going to update those compatibility tables. So if you haven't used your Mevo in webcam mode, I highly recommend doing it. Get your hands on a 3-pack, use it NDI, webcam mode, however you see fit, multicam, whatever it may be, take advantage of that 3-pack sale. And last but not least, as I had mentioned before, we are doing 3 shows this week opposed to our typical 4-day show. This is usually what our schedule looks like. So next week, look out for our audio show. But this week, we are doing just the Tuesday Ask Mevo Anything, which I'm wrapping up right now. So thanks for tuning in. Wednesday, we have tomorrow, Will, who will be going to Mevo Multicam show, and he will go over everything that you might want to know. So if you, for those asking about, you know, ISO recordings or configuring things like bit rates and stuff like that for multicam, you can 100% check out the Mevo Multicam app tomorrow. Ask Will all about it, and he would be more than happy to demo those live. And then Thursday show, like I said, it is our super awesome show. This one, since we are not doing an audio show on Friday, Joseph will be joining us. So all 3 of us will be here, 3 different sets, all running NDI on our Mevos, and we are going to demo multi-camera setups. We're going to talk about multicam. We're going to do a lot of really cool stuff, cover audio. It's going to be probably the most in-depth show that we've done in a very long time. So if you're interested in that show, I highly recommend that you check it out and do not miss it. Before I wrap up, I have going to go over these last 2 questions and we're going to wrap up for the day. So if you do have questions and I did not get to them today, be sure to go to help.mevo.com, open up a ticket. We'd be more than happy to answer you there. We do respond 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day except federal holidays. So Eminem says, when I stream 720, upload goes the max for 4 megabytes per second, or 4,000 kbps, and 1080 goes to 6.5. It will be nice to do something like 720, and I can set up to max 6, but maybe also to 720 set max 20. Yeah, so unfortunately you can't. We have preset bit rates for specific resolutions, and those are the only options you have. You can't customize it within the Mevo or multicam app. But we do have a few different options, like you had mentioned, based on your resolution that you're selecting. Yeah, so unfortunately there's no way to customize your bitrate based on your own selection or preference. You can only select the resolution and go from there. All right, last question. Joel says the Mevo single camera app seems to be smoother than the multicam app. I'm wondering if the multicam app can match the smoothness of hovering over the selected zoom of each Mevo over a section. I believe so. I've not had that experience. Now, what I do want to mention, though, is, as I said earlier, multicam is specifically being encoded by the mobile device. So if you are noticing some issues, whether with speed or smoothness or something like that, let us know what device you're using. Open a ticket. Let us know what device you're using, because we do have minimum requirements, and those minimum requirements should permit you to completely run multicam. But if you are noticing that, you know, you're not getting smooth transitions, smooth whatever it may be, maybe that device might need to be reviewed. It might not be providing the correct resources needed. So let us know what you're using. We may be able to check it out and see if we need to review those requirements a little bit further. All right. Wow, what a show. What a show we had today. Where are we at? How many minutes? 55 minutes, almost an hour that I've been talking to you all. It's been a complete pleasure. As I mentioned, make sure you come back tomorrow for a multicam show. And if you can't make that, you don't want to miss the Mevo live show on Thursday. It's going to be the most in-depth show that we've done in a long time. You get all 3 of us hosts at one time. So no better time to, you know, if you're going to make time for any show, Thursday is the one you absolutely do not want to miss. So until tomorrow or Thursday, until our next show, we will see you all next time. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.